Have you ever looked at a graph that's just covered in dots and thought, what is going on here? Well, believe it or not, every single one of those dots is trying to tell you a secret story. And today, we're going to learn how to read them. Let's dive right in. Our goal today is actually pretty simple, but it's super powerful. By the end of this, you'll be able to point to any dot on a scatter plot and tell its story, using the context of the graph. It's a skill you're going to use all the time. Okay, so let's start our adventure with this guy. A giant panda at the zoo. He looks happy enough, right? But there's a story hidden in his data. So the question is, how can one little tiny dot on a graph possibly tell us a meaningful story about this massive panda? Well, let's find out. And there it is, that single point on the graph. It might not look like much, but it holds two key pieces of information about our panda. It's kind of like a secret code. So what's it telling us? Let's crack the code. The point is at 3682. That's not just two random numbers. The first number, 36, lines up with the bottom axis, which tells us the panda's age in months. The second number, 82, lines up with the side axis, telling us its weight in kilograms. Put them together and you get the story. This panda is 36 months old and weighs 82 kilograms. See? A whole story in one dot. Okay, now that we know how one dot tells a story, let's go somewhere with a lot of stories. Welcome to the car lot. Every single dot you're about to see represents a different car, each with its own tale of weight and fuel efficiency. So here's the whole lot. We've got 18 different cars here. Now look at the axes. Along the bottom, you've got the car's weight in kilograms, and up the side, you have its fuel efficiency in miles per gallon. Every single point is a specific car's story. All right, time for a little mission. There are 18 dots on there. How in the world do we find the specific story for just one car, say, car L? So here's how we find it. We know car L weighs 1,663 kilograms and gets 19 miles per gallon. So first, we find 1,663 on the bottom axis. Then we find 19 on the side axis. Now just trace those two lines until they meet, and there it is. That one dot tells us everything we need to know about cars' weight and mileage. Simple, right? Now, this is where scatter plots get really cool. We can use them to compare stories. Let's look at car N and car O, both made by the same company. You can see car N is lighter, and it gets better mileage, 25 miles per gallon. Then you have car O, which is way heavier, and, surprise, surprise, it's less fuel efficient. The plot makes that relationship pop right out at you. So what happens when a new car shows up at the lot? Let's say we have car S. It weighs 1,912 kilograms and gets 16 miles per gallon. To add its story to the graph, we just do what we did before, but in reverse. Find its weight on the bottom, find its fuel efficiency on the side, and then, boom, plot the point right where they meet. Just like that, car S is part of the story. All right, let's take everything we've learned and try it out in a totally new setting. Because this skill isn't just for pandas and cars. Let's see if we can figure out the story of a clothing store's monthly coat sales, based on the temperature outside. Okay, new graph. This time, each dot represents 1 month of sales data. The bottom axis shows the average temperature in Celsius for that month. The side axis shows how many dollars the store made from selling coats. So what's a point like 15,680 telling us? Well, it's a complete one-sentence story. It means, in a month, when the average temperature was 15 degrees Celsius, the store sold exactly $680 worth of coats. Every dot tells a story. Now for a bit of a trickier question. What happens when a point isn't floating in the middle? What if it's sitting right on an axis? For example, what would a point at B, 0 mean in our coat store? What does that 0 tell us? Well, think about it. If the second number represents coat sales in dollars, a 0 means $0 in sales. So that point tells us the temperature when the store sold absolutely no coats. And if you look at the trend, you can kind of guess that this happens when it's around 34 degrees Celsius. It's just too hot outside to even think about buying a coat. So we've talked about pandas. We've gone to a car lot. We've sold some coats. After all these different stories, what's the big takeaway? What's the moral of our scatterplot story? It's really this simple. Every single point on a scatterplot is a snapshot. It connects two different but related measurements, like age and weight or temperature and sales, for one single subject, whether that's a panda, a car, or a month. But before we finish up, there is one more kind of story you'll run into. Sometimes you'll find a dot that's, well, a little weird.
It just doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the group.
Check this out. A tournament director rolled 50 different dice to make sure they were fair. This graph shows how many times each die was rolled and how many sixes it landed on. Most of the dots are clustered together following a pretty clear pattern. But look at that one. That point is way off by itself. A point like this is called an outlier, and it's telling a very different story.
So, the story of that outlier is this. It was rolled 100 times, and it came up as a 6 33 times. That's way more than any other die. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What do you think is so special about that die's story? And why do you think it doesn't fit with all the others? Thanks for joining me today.